Thanks, Kimberly. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Hopefully you can hear me okay. If not, please type something in the chat to the contrary and try to fix it. So today we're here to talk about Smart Data Foundry. The theme of the day is harnessing smart data for good, and how Smart Data Foundry provides real-time insights into economic well-being for public sector, for researchers, for NGOs, charities, etc. Today, we'll talk you through a little bit of Smart Data Foundry, what we are, what we are about, the types of data that we have, and also we'll introduce you to some of the products that we put out so far. In two of those, one is publicly available, the other one is under a subscription, but we'll talk you through the products and give you a demo of the Economic Wellbeing Explorer, which you might have tried before. And then we'll talk a little bit about how you can sign up to these products and next steps as well. So hopefully you enjoy. I'm gonna start sharing some slides. So who are Smart Data Foundry? Smart Data Foundry is not-for-profit that was funded in 2022 with a mission to open data for good, the subsidiary of the University of Edinburgh. And we open up private sector, consumer, and small business financial data for research, policy, and service delivery. We do that by achieving strategic partnerships with financial institutions, for example, NatWest, as you can see there in the slide, but also with the foundations and other organizations that can use our insights, like the Joseph Rowntree Foundation that's created the income volatility dashboard for research. Our key areas of focus are around reducing poverty and inequality and improving economic well-being. Not, of course, both of those are intrinsically related, of course, but we're hoping that our insights can contribute to informed decision-making and the development of targeted interventions and improved outcomes for people, but also to inform data-driven decisions that help build a stronger economy and more equitable society by improving economic well-being across the board. We do that by working at the intersections of different sectors. So we work in collaboration with academia as part of the University of Edinburgh, but also in collaboration with other universities. We work with the private sector. That's how we can get our data. We have data partnerships with NatWest Group, with Virgin Money, with Sage, and other partners, as you see there. And then we work with public sector and NGOs as well to feed insights from our data. And we'll talk through a little bit about those types of insights and show you a little demo on that so you can get a better understanding of the things that we do. So what kind of financial data is available? There's different data sets, but the one that we've been focused on more has been our flagship data set with NatWest Group. From that data set, we can see income and income sources, like how much income and what type of income source, salary, benefits, or pensions. We can see cash balances, we can see overdraft usage, we can see demographics, location, and committed expenditures like mortgage, rent, utilities, groceries, and discretionary expenditures like clothing, travel, entertainment, etc. So that allows us to have a look into the economy. Of course, all of this data is de-identified, so we can't identify any one person from the data. We can aggregate data, for example, in locations or in age ranges, and we can have that type of aggregated look into different areas of the economy. This comes as a complementary to traditional data sources, traditional data sources as in administrative data. The data is collected by service provision. And we challenge a little bit, not that we shouldn't use traditional data sources, but that we have a good data set that can be complementary to some of these traditional data sources, including in our demonstration, we will see how the finance data correlated with traditional data sources can provide very useful insights. This is more than relevant now because, as you can see on the right side, according to the Bank of England, there's been a compound inflation since 2020 of 25%, which means that people are now struggling financially more than they were before. And to have this timely type of information for local authorities, NGOs to actually assist people might become very useful. For us, financial data is a resource for social challenge. social change. By making this data accessible, we aim to enable impactful research by working with academics on things like longitudinal research around the causes of poverty, uh, correlations between long COVID and financial distress, and other types of research studies that we've worked in collaboration with academics, but also in terms of policy. How can our aggregated insights, our timely insights, help policymakers in the public sector, help people in the public sector that are dealing with operations and resource distribution to be a bit more data-driven about their decisions with this new complementary data set that we're able to provide, and hopefully also making use of some of the technical tools that we've developed to actually enable the consumption of this data in an easier format. The power of smart data, as you'll all understand, every time we tap our bank card or make an online payment, we leave a digital footprint. So as individual transactions, they might seem insignificant, but once we have scale and our data set covers 5.3 million current accounts across the UK, once we have that type of scale, then we can have very meaningful, de-identified insights into the economy that can help us plan long-term policy and short-term interventions. So we use smart. Progress. Sorry. So we use. Sorry, you're having a bit of technical difficulties here. Just a second. So we suggest that the use of smart financial data to inform evidence based on policy, track impact over time. One thing I forgot to mention is that this data we keep receiving this data and it's near real-time data. So we can track impact as we implement policies. We can go back to the data and see if that has the desired results. We're hoping it can improve service delivery by having a live look into the economy and where services are needed the most, and uncover economic unknowns, which is one of the most interesting things that we've done so far. And now I have the pleasure to demonstrate a little bit more on how that works in practice through the dashboards that we've provided in the beginning for local authorities, but now expanding to all sorts of different for good organizations. So to achieve these, we have launched a couple of products. The first one that I'm going to show you is what we call the Economic Nowcast. This is an openly available product that you can check from our website. And the objective of the Economic Nowcast is to track critical economic well-being indicators in near real time. As you can see from the right-hand side, the types of indicators that you can see. These are more static indicators that we update on I believe, a quarterly basis. And it's talking about, is alluding to things about how many people are living beyond their means based on the current account data, what's the average weekly income for people, and that last one comes from a separate data set, actually comes from Sage data, and it looks at small business productivity by looking at hundreds of thousands of SMEs and understanding productivity for SMEs across the UK. The first two are underpinned by the 5.3 million consumer bank accounts I mentioned from NatWest, and the last two is powered by that Sage partnership where we receive SME data. Coming soon, there'll be an addition of looking at the data in a little bit more depth by adding demographic and regional filters. So you can not just look at indicators, but also explore a little bit by region, for example. This month's Nowcast, you can scan the QR code and it will take you directly to the page you can explore this. But just as a quick look, this is this month's Nowcast figures for you to have a quick look. The second product I would like to talk about, and this one I'll talk a little bit more in depth, as the other ones you can easily just go and see from the website, and it should be pretty self-explanatory. The Economic Wellbeing Explorer is a more complex product that allows you for a deeper understanding and evaluation of data. We do this by creating a dynamic multi-level view of different economic well-being indicators. So this is designed for governments, NGOs, policy teams, and service providers. It has different ways of consuming the data, but maybe the most powerful, at least at first instance, is the intuitive map-based platform that allows you to correlate different data sets very quickly. And I'll do a deep dive demo on this, so we don't have to go into much depth of functionality now. But it works at different levels. It looks at national, regional, and local level insights, and it tracks economic well-being over time. So we update these dashboards on a monthly basis. So you're looking at a near real time, but also it keeps on being updated. And you can display it across different geographies. This allows for smarter resource planning, service design, policy development, and evidence-driven interventions, and hopefully will create very impactful changes as decisions are being made based on the data that we can explore here through our collaborations with local authorities and national government and other national bodies. As I mentioned, you can see the data from three levels. The national level, where we just aggregate the data for in this case for Scotland, but soon enough for the other nations as well across the UK. That allows us to compare nationwide economic well-being and identify trends. The regional level, so in Scotland there is 6 regions, in the UK there is a number of other regions, so we'll aggregate data at that regional level as well. That allows to compare regional averages to national averages, for example, on some of the indicators that we provide. And at local level, so we will go into either local authority level or intermediate zone level, and that allows you to look at that granularity within cities and within regions to understand the nuances between different parts of local authorities and how people might be displaying different signs of financial struggle in different areas of the local authority. So now I'm quickly going to change the screen so I can give you a little bit of demo of the product. Bear with me. So what you see here is our Economic Wellbeing Explorer. It's a map-based dashboard, but as I mentioned, there's other functionalities that I'll show you in a second. And what you see here is a way to aggregate financial indicators that come from our NatWest data. So here we have the data from all of Scotland. So you can see there's, just in Scotland, there's 567,000 records, current account records that we're looking into. And we're creating out of this current accounts, our data science team creates some financial indicators that helps public sector, NGOs, and charities look into a live look into some economic indicators. So some examples here are we'll report on how many people are using an overdraft. So every month when we update the data, we look at the 5 weeks prior to the data being updated, and we look at how many current accounts have actually dependent on their overdraft. So they have used it twice or more over that period of the month. In this case, you might be able to see it's 15% out of the 567,000 accounts that we can see in Scotland. 15% of those have depended in some capacity on their overdraft in the past month prior to the data being updated. The second one is called people living beyond their means. The same logic applies. We update the data monthly and we look at the 5 weeks prior to the data being updated. And in that specific metric, we're looking at how many people out of the 567,000 are living beyond their means or have lived beyond their means in the past month. So that means they have spent 20% more of the income that they had coming into their account in that month. And here you can see that 11% of the current accounts that we display this characteristic. The last one, people with low emergency resilience. Same logic applies again, are the monthly updates. And this one is looking at how many people have had, after spending all the essential and committed expenditures, at 2 or more instances of having less than £100 on their accounts. That is important to understand because those types of current accounts display some low emergency resilience, as the title suggests, which means that if there is a surprise expense in that month, like a washing machine breaking down, or you need to repair your car, then you might go into that poverty line or debt spiral, just to make ends meet. But based on the current accounts and based on the fact that the 33% of people, 567,000, have actually low emergency resilience in those terms that we explained. Now, it's important to note that these financial indicators have been created based on collaborations with local authorities. The data, though, is very granular, and there's the possibility of understanding a lot more and to create a lot more indicators. We have some more indicators coming soon. For example, we are looking into launching an indicator soon that looks at how many people depend on benefits. So 40% or more of their total income would come from benefits. But other more specific indicators could be created as well. For example, we could look at into specific grocery spend versus energy spend. We could look at digital inclusion or financial inclusion as well, based on the characteristics and the granularity of the data sets that we receive. The key here is that we're really keen to collaborate, and we're this webinar and other events that we have is to really bring people on board. They have the right use cases for us to work through with our technical team on what are the best indicators, the most useful indicators for organizations, and that will ultimately have the impact in helping people. So to show you a little bit more of how the dashboard works, I mentioned that there's different levels of the data aggregation. Here we're looking at national level. As we zoom in, we can look at a more granular level. So here we're looking at the 6 regions in Scotland. As we zoom in a bit more, then you have the local authority view. So for all the 32 local authorities in Scotland. And as we zoom in even a little bit more, we get into the localities and the intermediate zones within each local authority. So this allows you to look very in granular depth within your local authority, but also zoom out and try to understand how your local authority is doing or how your neighborhood is doing based on different local authorities, and based on regions and based on national averages as well. Some of the things that we've implemented in this dashboard to allow for more granularity of the exploration of the data is we have added some filters. So you might want to look at specific age bands like 18 to 39 years old, or you might want to look at specific income bands like under 25,000, 25 to 40, or over 40,000. The way this works, as you might have noticed already, is that you're looking at 2 data sets, and one is controlled by the size of the circles and the other by the color of the circles. The logic is that we can select different financial indicators, as I mentioned them earlier. So here we're going to go from people using an overdraft to people living beyond means, and you can see then the change in the size of the circles. The size of the circles means that there's more people struggling with that specific metric. So the bigger the circle, the more people, in this case, living beyond means. And you can click on each of the circles and analyze each of the metrics for each of the localities. You will have noticed also that there's a lot of different colors. And I mentioned earlier that some of the true advantages of the dashboard is when we start correlating the finance metrics to other data sets. So, for example, in this case, we're looking at census data. And you can see here from the right-hand side on the color coding how, sorry, there's something blocking it at the moment. I can see on the color coding on the side here how you can see now. You can explore the different colors. So here we're looking at data from the census on how many people with disabled slash how many households with someone with a disability or a long-term health issue. And here the logic is that the purples mean that there's more people displaying in this indicator. So the yellows mean that there's less households, and the purples mean that there's more households with people disabled and long-term issues. So this becomes a very visual tool to analyze, because based on size and circles, you can visually understand which areas you might want to focus on. So if there's a specific a specific support or grant or support mechanism for people that are they have some disability or long-term issue, or that live with people with disabilities or long-term issues, then the council can use this dashboard to understand where there are people with financial difficulties based on the size of the circle, and then where there are people with a lot of certain demographic characteristics, so they can be very focused on how they advertise and promote and implement the programs of work, the different programs of work and support that they might have for different people. We have a number of different data sets. We have other types of demographic metrics, so we can look at different population characteristics, like families with 2 or more children, the percentage of under 16 population in each of these regions. But as we evolve the proposition, we have realized that if we start bringing different types of data sets as contextual data selection, we can go into more and more use cases. One of the interesting things that we've done with a local authority in Scotland, in East Renfrewshire, is that we brought in service provision data from the local authority. So this is all, of course, de-identified data. But what we brought in is the service take up on certain things like how many people are receiving money advice and rights from the council, or how many people are in council tax indebtedness or receiving free school meals. So this is administrative data from the local authority. They were able to transfer it to us because it was completely de-identified before it got to us, and it was used through the trusted research environment at the EPCC that allows the data to be very secure. But what this now allows the council to do is to compare specific financial difficulties with service take-up provisions from the local authorities. So when you're looking at money advice and rights, this is a service that the council provides to their constituents so they can get a little bit of support on their finances and maybe get to some grants and financial support. So by overlaying the data and comparing which areas display the bigger circles, let's say, as in more people in this case living beyond means, and which areas don't have enough service take up. So again, the yellows means not enough service take up, the purples means a lot of service take up. And here you have a glaring use case where there is a lot of service take up in an area that there's less people living beyond means than some of the other areas that have very low service take up. So this is actionable information that the council can use directly to address some of the discrepancies in service provision with the council, and also understand what are some of the conditions that are making that the service take up is lower than what you would expect. So this data is not just used by the council, but it has been used by social workers, but it's been used by teachers in the schools to actually give a better understanding of their communities. And of course, without identifying anyone, but giving a better understanding of the communities they're dealing with. And then with the knowledge that the council has on the constituents, then proper support mechanisms can be put in place. As we move forward, we started bringing more and more data. So another one I would like to talk about is how we brought in the data on EPC ratings or energy efficiency ratings across Scotland and local authorities. I'll go back to Edinburgh for this one, which is a more interesting view. As we can see here, the purples and the darker, which are almost all of them, means that there's more houses in those areas with poor energy efficiency. Now, as we made commitments as a nation and as a world to get to net zero in the next decades, and this is a very useful type of information because it correlates not just how much investment is needed based on the poor energy efficiency of housing in each of these neighborhoods, but also what type of investment could be made by the population in each of those neighborhoods. And that will then gives us very good information about what sort of programs and financial support will be needed for people to be able to retrofit their houses and to get to the net zero targets that we've committed to. Another thing to point out attention to is on the bottom here, you can see a timeline. So I mentioned the data keeps being updated, and we also keep older data within the dashboards. So you can go back in time and try to understand how things have changed over time, try to understand how things have started maybe. But also we keep updating data. So as you implement a new policy or a new program of work, you can keep checking on the data and checking if those things are working in the way that you envisioned, if you need to adjust, if you need to pivot, or if you have achieved your goals and now you should move on to something else to help more people. I mentioned the map a lot, which is really powerful for demos in terms of actually making the data operational. We have different ways of exploring the data. So, for example, the time series has been proven to be very useful. Here you allows you to compare different areas. So you can compare an intermediate zone to different regions and compare it to Scotland averages. And you can then have a little bit more context about the types of indicators that you're looking at, make sure that what you're looking at is actually something that you should pay close attention, or if it's something that is following national and regional trends that there's a bigger explanation for. You can also use the filters there, and you can look at different metrics, which sometimes they show you as you look between different metrics, it shows you surprising results. So here is you can see that there's a lot more people with low emergency resilience in back than the averages in Scotland and East Central Scotland. Another useful one is the yearly comparison, because some of the indicators that you might see, it might be that they have a significant change, but it's just a seasonal change. So as we all might understand, in the summer, you might see a lot more overdraft usage because people are booking their holidays, for example. So by comparing it year on year, you can be absolutely sure that you are seeing something extraordinary and not something that you just normally see anyway in this time of the year. Last one I'll show you is the ranked summary. Here, it becomes a very operational type of function, as you just want to look at the top 5 or the bottom 5 regions that are struggling with an indicator and look at a quickly trend series and the percentage of change. So you can be more on top of month-on-month changes, and just a little bit easier to explore all the different circles in the map. Once you look at the table like this, you can be a bit more operational on how you execute some of this information. So that's the demo. I will go back to the slides now, and I will hand over to my colleague Stacy. Just bear with me 1 second. And of course, we'll leave you with one of our favorite slides, where Mr. John Sweeney has actually commented on what we've been doing with Springfishire. But I'll pass you on to Stacey now.
Super, thank you very much, Huey. If I can just ask you to move on to the next slide there. And I will just talk a little bit about how you can get access to our Explorer tool, as well as how you can get in touch to discuss any use cases or any ideas that you might have to bring this more into a service delivery or operational perspective. So there's a lovely QR code there which will give you access to the Explorer tool. Just follow the instructions to register through our portal, My Foundry, and you will be able to sign up for the national and the regional views that he talked through there. If you would like access to a more local or granular level of views, also as displayed by Huey with the East Renfrewshire and the Edinburgh examples, please do get in touch with us to talk through what you would like to use the tool for, and we can provide more additional demos with a little bit more of contextual data for you. Important to note that within My Foundry there is also access to other data visualizations that we've made available, as well as access to some of our research-ready data sets, particularly for those in academia. So in short, scan the QR code, sign up for My Foundry, and explore within there. If we just touch the next slide, thank you. He's obviously talked through how you can use the tool and some of the use cases there that we've seen the tool be used for, which is absolutely fantastic. So firstly, just thank you to everyone for listening and participating in the session. We do have an extensive roadmap in terms of how we want to develop our Economic Wellbeing Explorer, which will focus on extending the available insights through the addition of additional data, with working with new data partners as well. In addition to that, we are looking to extend to the whole of GB, so England and Wales versions of the tool will be available this year. What we have shared today is very much just one piece of the puzzle. We don't have all the answers, and we think that the way to move forward is to work together to understand how this data can be used to drive economic impact and support people living on the ground. So we're very aware that this tool is not going to change lives, but in the hands of people in government, in research, in private sector, it can help unlock insight and drive action, which will help support more responsive services for the people who need them the most. And that's really how we hope that this tool will be used and useful to people. So I suppose the kind of key message here is that we want to invite everyone to join us in this work. So please don't be shy in terms of telling us what you think will help you, what you think would be useful for you to see from a data perspective or visualization perspective within this tool. Because I think that if we're working together, we can try and turn this data into something that's really meaningful and can drive action and change and make a real difference for how people in Scotland and in the rest of the GB by the end of the year make a real difference for those people. So with that in mind, very keen to move on to the Q&A section and give people a chance to ask questions. Please ask questions either through the chat functionality or the question functionality on Zoom, or raise your hand and we can unmute you to ask a question live as well. We've got our first question come through here that is, it would be interesting to know how organisations can become a strategic partner or pilot collaborator on health-focused data research. Brilliant question. Health research and health is absolutely one of the core themes that we are seeing this data as useful for, especially when coupled or combined with health data. So please do just get in touch with us. We have contact us links on our marketing website as well as within our My Foundry portal, and somebody will reach out to you to respond and set up time for a discussion. So please do get in touch on that. The other question we have there is there a secure research or sandbox environment where we could pilot data use cases involving the health sector? Yes, the individual level effectively anonymised data is available for specific research projects. Again, please do get in touch with us. The data is hosted within our trusted research environment, which is part of Edinburgh Peril Computing Centre, or EPCC's Safe Haven network. Another question coming through on future developments and whether there is a plan to offer more granularity in the age breakdowns. Absolutely, there is a plan for more granularity in the age breakdowns. The reason that the current age granularity is quite broad is to protect the privacy within the dashboard, maintain the privacy, and also make sure that the data remains statistically relevant for our indicators. So we're continuously working through what level of granularity we can offer for age ranges, but yes, that there will be further granularity in the coming months. Next question here is, are there plans to include data from more banks and types of accounts in terms of interoperability? Can other data sets or sources be integrated, such as health or HMRC records? Absolutely, yes, we are continuously working on data partner outreach and looking to get additional data sources, both from the financial services sector as well as other sectors as well. As was demonstrated by Hui with our Explorer tool, we do layer in contextual data from sources such as SIMD, ONS, Scottish Government, but there is absolutely opportunity to layer in further contextual data sources into the tool, and also linked to our data sets more generally. So yes, there are absolutely plans to include more data on different account types. I know savings was mentioned in a previous question that's been answered as well. So more account types and more contextual data. Question, are we able to determine primary and secondary current accounts via the likes of salary, as a spending or a kids account may have less than £100 as standard? Also great question. Yes, there are things that we can do in terms of trying to determine account types. The data set that we have is current accounts, and we don't receive any data on current accounts for children. So these are all adult current accounts, important to know that. But we are exploring the opportunity to determine whether it's a primary account or a secondary account based on the spending patterns and income that is received into an account. The next question we have is, for housing sector, does the EPC database cover both domestic and non-domestic building data, and does it have detailed information about the owners? For the data set that we are using, I don't believe we are looking at non-domestic building data currently, and we are not looking at any data on detailed information about the owners or property owners. The data is all aggregated up to a level where we shouldn't be able to personally identify anybody within the tool. Our contextual data sets are currently under review, or constantly under review, to ensure that we're using the most up-to-date contextual data that is available, and that includes our EPCC data sets as well, or energy rating data sets as well. So we are constantly looking for more up-to-date, more relevant ones, and absolutely will have a consideration as to whether non-domestic building data is something that should be included going forward. There's no other questions that are coming in right now, but again, if anybody would like to ask a question live, please do just raise your hand, and we can give you permission to speak, or do use the question box. Super. Nothing else is coming through. As I've mentioned previously, there are opportunities to contact us if any questions do arise at a later point through the contact links both within our website and on My Foundry as well. And we would please encourage you to get in touch if you do have any questions or would like to explore possibilities to work together. We will send out the link to the recording of this session for those that were unable to join, or for those that want to watch a replay back. I think that is us for this morning. So unless there is anything further, thank you very much, everybody, for joining and for the questions and participations. And thank you, Hui, for the demo. I think that is us.
Thanks, everyone. I think there is just one question we missed. Oh no, it's been answered via text. But if there's any more questions, please do get in touch. We'd love to meet with you and to understand more and more use cases and how we can improve the tool. Thanks to Stacey and Kimberly today, and thanks everyone for joining us.